Why now? Jungkook's whisper to Taehyung shakes fans' emotions after a hug full of meaning. Why now? Two words that sound ordinary, but when they came from Jungkook's lips and were directed at Taehyung in an unexpected moment, the world seemed to stop spinning. There were no fireworks, no background music, just the sound of held breath and a microphone that accidentally captured the most human truth in a superstar's career. That hug and the whisper that followed weren't just a personal interaction. It was an emotional explosion that had been locked up for too long, and when it burst, the entire K-pop industry fell silent. The reunion of these two BTS members was supposed to be a regular celebration, Jungkook officially completing his mandatory military service. Fans prepared with banners and cameras. But no one was ready for Taehyung's sudden appearance, who was also in the military and had given almost no sign he'd be there that day. Even internal staff admitted that his arrival was a last-minute decision, without media prep. But it was precisely this unpredictability that hit the emotional core of the moment. When Jungkook stepped out of the military gate, his smile alone was enough to move armies to tears. But within seconds, that smile fell. He stopped. His eyes widened, and in front of him stood Taehyung, silent, wearing a mask and uniform, but unable to hide the gaze that spoke more than any words. In an instant, Jungkook's entire body seemed to drop its guard. He walked fast, then ran, then collapsed into a hug he seemed to have waited years for. But what made the moment unforgettable wasn't just the hug, it was the words that followed. The public mic installed to catch official post-discharge statements picked up something far more valuable. A faint whisper from Jungkook to Taehyung. Why now? Fans, of course, immediately split. Some called it a bitter question holding old wounds. Others saw it as a form of relief, disbelief that the person he'd waited for had finally come. And then, for some, it was an apology in the shape of a question. But all agreed those two words opened a page that had long been tightly shut in BTS's emotional journey, a communication analyst from Yonsei University stated. When Jungkook said, "Why now?" he wasn't only asking Taehyung, but also time, circumstance, and perhaps himself. It's a multidimensional expression of longing, pain, and delayed hope. It's no secret that the personal bonds between BTS members often draw attention, not just due to their fame, but because of how their closeness touches the public. However, rare are the moments that are so raw, so open, and impossible to interpret as part of a marketing strategy.
No script, no prep.
Just two humans rediscovering each other amid a crowd that suddenly went silent. Public reactions surged like a tidal wave. Hashtags like #WhyNowJK, #taekook and #WeFeltThat became global trending topics within an hour. Fans worldwide reanalyzed every interaction they'd had over the past decade. Some even created emotional timelines, highlighting possible cracks, misunderstandings, or feelings that were never expressed. But more than speculation, the hug and the whisper that followed opened up a new discussion about the emotional pressure idols face in maintaining image, closeness, and public expectations. A former K-pop artist manager, who wished to remain anonymous, revealed, "What you see in front of the camera is only a small part. There's a lot of pain that never gets spotlighted. Sometimes moments like this aren't about two idols, but about two people who've lost something under the glitter of fame." Taehyung's presence, according to some HYB staff, wasn't part of a management plan. He came alone, no official escort,
no announcement.
And perhaps it was that very spontaneity that made the hug more real. Not done for media, not for campaign, but to fill a void that words couldn't. And when that moment happened, it wasn't only Jungkook who melted. Taehyung, too, was seen wiping tears. He didn't answer Jungkook's question with words, but his expression, his embrace, his grip, they all said, "I'm here." Finally, no long speech was needed to convey a decade of complex, loving, maybe even painful connection. And for fans, that was enough. More than enough, and the following days, neither Jungkook nor Taehyung spoke. No official statements, no sentimental posts. In fact, it was the silence that gave the hug even deeper meaning. In an era where every moment can be monetized, an act left personal becomes sacred, but the public kept asking, what happened between them? Is this reconciliation? Or is it goodbye? These questions kept emerging, showing that the hug didn't just touch the idols personally, but also stirred a collective wound among fans who had long silently missed the warmth behind the curtain. Pop culture sociologist Dr. Park Hae-jin explains this phenomenon as accumulated collective emotion. He said that when the public invests feelings into idols over the years, moments like this become a release, a catharsis for everyone. When Jungkook asked why now, it felt like all the fans were asking too. And when Taehyung hugged him, the whole world seemed to exhale. Now, weeks have passed, but the trace of that hug still lingers. It hasn't faded among the flood of new headlines. It remains because it touched something deeper than any headline ever could. And perhaps behind those two simple words lies the answer to a question that had never been asked before. What does a bond built under dreams and public pressure really mean? Jungkook asked not to blame, but to understand. And Taehyung came not to explain, but to show. Why now? Not because the timing was wrong, but because sometimes time has to hug you first before you can let go of everything. And that hug? It was a moment of stillness in a world that's too loud. And in that silence, two hearts finally found each other again. But behind all the emotion, the silence, and the viral hashtags, we must pause and ask ourselves, is what we saw truly real? Or is this a narrative shaped by media, algorithms, or even by our own collective hopes as loyal viewers? Can a hug, no matter how intimate and emotional, stand without the backdrop of strategy or an unseen script? This question is not meant to ruin the meaning of the moment, but to invite us all to think more reflectively. Could this moment, with its cinematic perfection, faint whispers, and perfectly timed tears, be pure coincidence? Or, as often in the entertainment industry, is it part of a crafted narrative meant to reignite fan intimacy and extend public relevance? We compiled this report from various pieces of information scattered across TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and other platforms. Many videos shot from different angles, many interpretations from nearly inaudible whispers, much emotion added with background music edits, slow motion, and dramatic captions. But how much of it is real? And how much is just projection of our own feelings formed by years of support, love, and expectation? Jungkook said, why now? We all heard it or claim to. But let's ask, did the mic really catch it? Or was it just a result of digital amplification by fans who've waited too long for this narrative to come back? But let's shift the perspective a bit. What if this moment was meant to be that very ambiguity? Emotional enough to believe, but vague enough to debate. Strategy or spontaneity? Private closeness or public performance? Whatever the answer, one thing is clear. We're all involved. We are part of the story. As viewers, supporters, and interpreters, stay critical, stay open, and most importantly, stay human. Thank you for joining us in this reflection. See you in our next report, with more sensitivity in heart and more sharpness in thought.